The Q50 sedan is a true long liver of the Infiniti brand. It was first shown to journalists in the fall of 2013 and continues to be produced to this day, without any special updates. True, in Russia the model was in extremely limited demand and therefore the sedan from our range was at the turn of 2020 to 2021, and in fact, deliveries stopped even earlier. Yes, the rear-wheel drive Japanese failed to become a worthy rival for the luminaries of the genre Audi, BMW and Mercedes. Apparently that's why the date, as the Russians traditionally call Infiniti, cost significantly less than the premium Germans for $1.5 million. It's actually a very attractive option. The charisma of which, however, can be spoiled by chips on the delicate enamel of the body. Much has been said that paintwork is not the strong point of the Infiniti brand. So just accept that you will have to touch up the chips regularly. To do this you need to select the enamel. And this task is very difficult. Take a look at what intricate shades are included in the palette. As for the body, the soft windshield and wipeable fog lights can be considered consumables, and the numerous finishing chrome does not have the unsightly habit of swelling. There is, perhaps, only one good news. There shouldn't be any serious pockets of corrosion even on the oldest sedans, especially since the Japanese use really good quality metal. And so that the rust does not get lost for as long as possible, do not be lazy to clean out the fallen leaves. She likes to accumulate under the plastic fender liners. Notice how easily fallen leaves end up under the hood of an Infiniti. But this is, accordingly, a potential source of corrosion, for which the premium Japanese is usually praised for its good sound insulation, comfortable chairs and intelligible instruments, and in general the interior turned out to be of high quality and comfortable. And most importantly, it is almost ageless, but there are also complaints about it. The interior of the 2013 model looks modern, and today it's just the quality of the finishing materials that has let us down. Electrics tend to periodically annoy with small dirty tricks, the parking sensors will malfunction, or the fuel meter will begin to tamper. However, after restyling in 2017, complaints about the volt-ampere economy have become an order of magnitude less, which is typical for cars of any age, as the door locks that quickly become overgrown with dirt, which are extremely fond of regular, abundant lubrication of the model. The Q50 replaced the G series, hence the famous petrol 6s and the characteristic layout, strongly shifted back by the power unit. But when creating this car, the Japanese made one very big mistake. They succumbed to the persuasion of the Daimler concern and introduced an inline 4 and a 7-speed automatic from Mercedes, and these units spoiled a lot of blood for the owners. Since this friendship developed in general in 2010, the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi Alliance and the Daimler concern decided to join forces by establishing the joint development of power units, vehicle platforms, and electric vehicles. So Infiniti's mechanics without a doubt took the Mercedes Turbo 4 of the M274 series. They just needed a lightweight but powerful enough engine for the basic versions of the Q50. But who knew then that the new product created by German engine engineers turned out to be frankly unsuccessful? Owners of almost brand new Mercedes and Infiniti were, to put it mildly, surprised when the engine had to be sent for overhaul, and with only about 50,000 miles, when opening the unit, scuffing of the cylinders was diagnosed, as well as damage to the liners and crankshaft. The cause of sudden death was the lubrication system control valve. And in some cases, its wiring, due to incorrect operation of the unit, left the engine without oil, which provoked such a wide range of damage. Add here seizing water pumps and numerous oil leaks, for example, from under the valve cover and the front crankshaft oil seal. In general, draw a clear conclusion for yourself: you should stay away from this German happiness. The list of weaknesses also includes a timing chain that stretches over an unaffordable and even modest 100 to 120,000 kilometers. But complaints about the short-lived turbocharger pump and injectors were received only at first. Over time, complaints about these issues became significantly less. As you can clearly see, in our case there is a German inline 4 under the hood. But the most chic thing is the bi-turbo V6, which is purebred Japanese. According to some information, it is a distant relative of the same unit that is installed on the Nissan GT-R. Well, or if you like, hetero, the new VR30 bi-turbo engine made its debut on the sedan of the 2016 model year. It has direct fuel injection, high-speed electric motors, phase rotators, and square geometry. This is when the cylinder diameter is equal to the piston stroke, in our case 86 mm. In the basic version the engine produces about 300, and in the top 400 horsepower. In general, this thing is curious but extremely rare, and there are no clear statistics on these engines, except that on foreign forums the new product is often criticized for the fragility of the turbines. However, adherents of atmospheric thrust can find a pre-restyling sedan equipped with the almost iconic naturally aspirated 6 of the VQ series. Here it is, it's definitely reliable without any problems, but now they don't make engines like this. This V6 even has a drive chain that easily lasts for 250,000 kilometers. The main thing is to avoid at least the slightest overheating, and to do this, wash the radiators regularly and update the expansion tank cap every 3 to 4 seasons. By the way, in Europe, the Infiniti Q50 was equipped not only with gasoline-diesel engines, more precisely one OM651 of Mercedes origin and an output of 170 horses, thereby putting it on a commercial sprinter. The chances of encountering a diesel modification are completely minimal, or is it a hybrid built around 3.5-liter 6 sometimes pop up. The engine itself is from the VQ series we previously mentioned, that is, reliable and durable. But between the gasoline engine and the gearbox there is a built-in electric motor, separated by a dry single-plate clutch, and it understandably requires replacement of the friction disc and release bearing over time. Our purely petrol 2-liter version is equipped with a conventional 7-speed automatic transmission, or rather the Mercedes 722.9 unit. It has a fairly strong mechanical part, but delicate electronics. However, the Q50 model specifically received a quite successful control unit from the Continental company, or, if you like, Continental, which quite well tolerates deep frying of transmission oil. The recipe for health and longevity of the 7-speed German 7-tronic gearbox is simply indecent. This is an oil and filter change every 50,000 mileage. The older unit comes with another Jatco JR71 gearbox, the same one that is considered eternal and indestructible. The Japanese 7-speed even tolerates openly barbaric operation. And so that the machine can meet even old age without kicks and delays. Get into the habit of changing the oil every 50 to 60,000 mileage. But all 6-cylinder cars have an all-wheel drive transmission built around a multi-plate clutch. But the clutch itself came out tender, to put it mildly. No, not in terms of reliability, but in terms of overheating. In order to be left alone with rear-wheel drive, it is enough to drive for only 15 to 20 seconds. Believe me, this kind of sporty behavior can be considered a defensive reaction, because the transfer case, which protects its insides from overheating, will last as long as the car itself. And in general, in the all-wheel drive system there is only one relatively weak link, the front drive shaft, and it will most likely last 250,000 mileage. The rear shaft crosspieces are allowed to last approximately 300,000 kilometers, and in rear-wheel drive versions the drive shaft is ready to work almost forever. The suspension is also good. Changing the front control arms is likely due to the extreme wear of the silent blocks. The rear multi-link, as a rule, requires attention even later. In the aluminum control arms of the front suspension, dead silent blocks can be replaced with non-original ones. But there's no point in this work because the repairs won't last long, and in general if the silent blocks have died for a long time. Of course, the main feature of this model is the steering system, where there is no mechanical connection between the steering and steered wheels. This design guarantees perfect isolation from road irregularities and, of course, it is much easier to integrate an active safety system into such a car. Well, let's immediately clarify that control-by-wire was supposed to be the most expensive versions in Russia. They were rarely bought, so the hero of our today's program does not have a revolutionary makeweight, which, however, does not prevent us from describing the design, features and problems of the system itself, which the manufacturer calls DAS, that is, Direct Adaptive Steering. The world's first steering wheel Infiniti engineers were helped to create control-by-wire by Kaiba specialists. Moreover, 3 control units had to be introduced into the system, each of which can act as a backup in turn to simulate feedback to the steering wheel when a separate electric motor has been honed. And to turn the front wheels, a pair of electric motors are mounted on the rack. You may ask, what will happen if something goes wrong in the electronic kingdom? In fact, there is a steering shaft here. It is simply opened by a chem clutch, and in the event of electronic problems, this clutch will simply close, restoring the direct connection between the steering wheel and the wheels. As they say, it was smooth on paper. In reality, the know-how brought a lot of problems to both the owners and the sedan manufacturer. The first recall campaign had to be launched literally a few weeks after the start of sales in November 2013. Suddenly it turned out that the steering electronics refused to work in severe frosts, and even the safety clutch did not work. Fortunately, by that time, only 23 of them had been sold, and all of them were sold in the United States in 2016. Infiniti management considered that the revolutionary system turned out to be quite reliable, and they wanted to implement it on other models. Suddenly it turned out that everything was not at all rosy. To quote the official representative of Infiniti, Steph Weinman, in some rare cases, immediately after starting the engine, the response to steering inputs may deteriorate, and the turning radius will increase. The next recall affected 60,000 cars, which happened in 2016. Needless to say, such a leapfrog did not add trust to either the brand or the system. Fortunately, not a single accident caused by this failure was recorded in the world. However, experts preferred to play it safe and preventively updated absolutely all machines with the latest version of the software. The Infiniti Q50 turned out to be, to put it mildly, controversial, taking as a basis a very reliable predecessor. The Japanese could have gotten a truly ideal sedan, but the basic versions did not develop trust and were undermined by German engines and gearboxes. And for the top modifications, the main problem turned out to be the same revolutionary steering mechanism, which does not have a rigid connection between the steering wheel and the steered wheels, so the market received this car coolly, to put it mildly.